Hi, I'm Rich Formidoni from Korg, and today we're going to be talking about how to use the effects processors in the M50 from within a combi or a sequence. So the M50 can play 16 sounds at once, and there are 8 effect processors. You have 5 insert effects, 2 stereo master effects, and 1 stereo total effect. So what I'm going to show you is how to apply them to the combi that I made in my last video about how to construct a combi. So what I'm going to do is put a compressor on that bass sound and a flanger on the strings that are underneath that string and piano combination. Then we're going to put varying amounts of reverb on everything, and then a stereo mastering limiter on the end. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is press the page select button to the right of the display, and then select this first IFX routing tab. So you touch that, and then this is where you can route all of the insert effects. Now let me walk you through these tabs over here. The first 2 are your routing tabs. So this is where you can specify for each one of the possible 16 programs in a combi which one of the 5 insert effect slots it's going to go to. Now, we're only going to deal with this first tab, not the second one, because we've only got 3 different programs in this combi: bass, piano, and strings. So what I want to do is route the first one, the bass track, to insert effect number 1. So I'm going to touch this arrow that says LR and change that to IFX1. Now you can see here a little line went from that 1 to the first insert effect slot, so we're doing good. Now, the third tab over is called IFX Setup. This is where we decide which effects go into those 5 slots. So, the first thing I need to do is turn slot 1 on, and then touch the arrow where it says No Effect, and I'm going to select a stereo compressor. Notice, by the way, that right here you can choose all the different insert effects by category, just like you can with programs or combis. So if I need an amp simulation, I touch that tab right there. If I need delay, I go to the delay tab. I'm going to use the dynamic tab and just select that stereo compressor. So now the bass should have a compressor on it. It's okay, but I want to tweak it a little bit. That's when we go to these next tabs over here. These 5 tabs allow me to zoom in on each one of the effects and tweak it. So here I can see all the settings for that stereo compressor. Now I could tweak them all myself, but the M50 has a very, very cool feature, and this is also in the M3 Expanded, by the way. Touch this little arrow next to the letter P right up there and scroll back to the beginning, and you can see that we've got some presets for this compressor. So I could start with Bass Bodybuilder. And that's a pretty good bass compressor. So I'm all set on the bass. The next move is I want to put a flanger on the string sound that's here. Keep it very subtle. So I'm going to take the third channel here and route that to insert effect 2. So now you can see there's a line here from 3 over to insert effect slot 2. So now I go back to my IFX Setup tab, turn on slot number 2, touch the arrow, and this is where we're going to put a phaser. So there's a chorus, flanger, and phaser tab. Just touch that. Stereo phaser should be pretty good. Touch OK. And now I've got a nice phaser going along with the strings. Now the next step is adding some reverb to just about everything. And for this we're going to use a master effect. So press the page select button again, and now touch the MFX/TFX button on the display. And here we go. Now we can choose master effects. These are cool because you can apply them on a send basis from every one of the channels. So the first thing I'm going to do is where it says MFX1, turn the slot on, touch the arrow, and now I'm going to go to reverb. Reverb Hall, that should be fine. Touch OK. And now, turn up the effect return. Just touch it and turn the dial, and you're good to go. So now, there is reverb set on the master effects, but we're not hearing it yet. We're still hearing the decay from the strings there. So, no reverb quite yet, and I'll show you why. Let's press page select and go back to the IFX routing. Go to the first routing tab. You see these zeros right here? Send 1 MFX and send 2 MFX? That's what allows you to send varying amounts of each channel to the two Master Effects processors. So for example, with the piano, the second channel here, I can touch this send number 1 and crank it up. And now the piano has way too much reverb, so we'll bring it down a little bit. Now it's got just a touch. Now if you notice, channels 1 and 3 are grayed out. Those are the channels that I routed to the insert effects. So here's the thing. If you want to, you can route more than one channel to an insert effect processor. See, now I've got channels 3 and 4 going to insert slot number 2. So that's a very cool thing you can do with the effects, but what it means is you now have to route the master effects at this stage, after the inserts. So here's what we do. Go to the IFX setup, and you can see that to the right of each one of the effect slots, you can actually send varying amounts to the master effects. So for example, we'll take the bass, which is going through this stereo compressor, and crank up the reverb. There we go, now there's some reverb on the bass. We'll do the same thing with the strings. We don't need too much there. Just enough to add a little depth to it. Now, the last step in the chain is total effects. Press the page select button, and again, MFX/TFX. Touch that, and then let's go to the total effect slot right here, turn it on, and touch the arrow. Now, the total effect is always on and always applied to everything. So be careful what you select here. This is a great spot for a dynamic effect like a stereo mastering limiter. So if you're working on a song in sequence mode, this is where you put your final mastering processor. Touch OK. And now let's zoom in on that total effect and see what kind of presets we've got. Touch the little P in the upper right hand corner. Scroll over to the beginning, and here's some mixer presets, or some mastering presets. That's actually a pretty good one. I hear everything breathing. It's a pretty good mix. So now we're done. We've got effects in our combi. So there are a couple of different ways of working with the effects, as you can see. There are also some cool shortcuts that allow you to copy the effects from a program or combi that already exists. So stay tuned, check out the other videos, and I'll show you how it's done. Thanks very much.